Hello, today we are going to tell you about the most famous counterfeiters. And the first one is Edward Müller, also known as Emmerich Jortner, or Mr. 880, was an Austrian-American immigrant known for counterfeiting United States $1 bills and eluding the United States Secret Service for a decade, from 1938 to 1948. The time of the Great Depression is a difficult time for all U.S. citizens. People were losing their jobs, losing their livelihoods. It was this severe economic crisis that pushed the elderly garbage collection from New York, Edward Müller, to the crime of becoming a counterfeiter. He made his fakes in an artisanal way in his kitchen. The handwriting of the criminal was that, unlike professional counterfeiters who made large bills, he drew banknotes with a face value of $1. It was strange. No self-respecting counterfeiter would waste time and effort on forging $1 bills. In addition, professionals in the field have always been proud of the creations and tried to make them as high quality as possible. Sometimes it was almost impossible to distinguish them from the original. But Müller's fraud was terrible. Printed on the cheapest paper, it was difficult to recognize the president on the banknotes, and his name was misspelled, Washington. At first, the detectives thought that it was someone's stupid joke and they were just being bullied. But Müller's bills kept popping up. By middle of 1938, there were 585 bills in the crime lab. The counterfeiter was given the name Mr. 880 based on his case number. He was elusive. Most criminals were found by greed, but Mr. 880 spent no more than $15 a week and never returned to the places where he had already been. As years passed, Müller's creation still surfaced in various parts of for the Secret Service. He was caught only in 1948 and quite by accident. During the fire in the house of Edward Müller, firefighters threw out things that could catch fire. Among them were the cliches which he printed fakes from. Edward Müller openly admitted his actions, adding that he had never given more than one bill to anyone, so no person had lost more than $1. He used his fake money only to buy basic necessities and groceries, and never cheated the same seller out of more than $1. As a result, he was sentenced by the court to 1 year and 1 day in prison and a year dollar fine. In 1949, American journalist St. Clair Calloway wrote a series in the New Yorker about several different crimes. McCalloway covered Miller's story in a three-part series detailing counterfeiting in America and Miller's life and shame. Later developing his story into a book entitled The Annals of Crime. The series was combined with several comics and illustrations. Later, Edward Muller sold the rights to his history, which was made into the 1950 film Mr. 880.
James Stephen George box. It all started by pure chance when in 1982 the artist James Stephen George box sat in a cafe and drew a $1 bill on a napkin. After a while, the waitress came up to him and took a napkin, thinking that it was payment for a cup of coffee. After that, JSG Box decided that he would exchange goods and services for the money drawn. He began to draw dollars, British pounds, Swiss, Belgian and French francs, and Italian lira. His drawings of currency depicting only a single side of note came to be known as box notes. With their help, he bought books, paints, dined in restaurants, drank in bars. The drawings even managed to pay for air tickets. JSG Box always paid with his banknotes so that he could get some change, and always required a cash receipt. Change and check were a strict condition for making a deal in a restaurant and or store. JSG Box could have changed something on the site and was being portrayed. For example, replace the phrase "I promise to pay the buyer on demand the sum of the pound on British banknotes with "I promise to promise to promise," and replace "I in God that we trust" on United States dollars with red gold we trust. However, his happiness did not last long because several countries charged him with counterfeiting. Police arrest Box at the Young Unknown Gallery in London in 1986. He was successfully defended by a human rights lawyer and acquitted. But formally his occupation could not be prosecuted because the artist did not try to pass off his money is real.
The next counterfeiter is Viktor Baranov. Viktor Ivanovich Baranov is a Soviet and Russian inventor and artist. In 1978, he was arrested for making counterfeit money and sentenced to 20 years in prison. He was called counterfeiter number one. He was born on April 27 in 1941 in the city of Suchan. In 1957, he moved with his family to Stavropol territory. As a child, Viktor was fond of collecting old banknotes. Colored pictures of royalty fascinated him. He heard a lot about the fact that there are people who can make the same, but didn't imagine that one day he would be able to make something similar. More than once he was offered his inventions to enterprises, but the most part of them was unclaimed. Then Baranov, realizing his own non-recognition and also to finance his own inventions, takes up making money. Next to the house of the inventor, there was a shed in which he occupied his research laboratory. Gripped by new ideas, Victor Ivanovich didn't leave for days. On April at the collective farm market in the city of Cherkassk, while selling another batch of fakes. During a personal search, 77 counterfeit banknotes in denomination of 25 rubles were found at Baranov's. As it turned out, Victor quit his job in August 1976 and didn't work any here. But the detectives learned that he didn't need money. When police officers have begun to question Baranov about accomplices, he said that he did everything alone. At first, the experts didn't believe this, but the investigative measures confirmed the fact that Baranov had made counterfeit banknotes for a total of 33,454 rubles. While at the time of his arrest, Baranov had sold banknotes in the amount of 23,525 rubles. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison. After 10.5 years, he was released on parole. We were glad to talk about the most famous counterfeiter. Thank you for your attention.